Good afternoon. I'm Hector Pelayo, and this is your program, ALMA in the Community. Today we have a very special guest. Today we have the one and only, our Mayor of Oxnard, Tim Flynn. Welcome to our program.
Thank you very much.
Well, the camera's all yours.
Right.
What would you like to tell to our audience?
Well, as many people know, there's an election November 4th, and I, as mayor of the city of Oxnard, is standing for re-election, and that office is up every 2 years, the term. And there are also two other candidates running for re-election, Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez and Councilman Bert Perillo. And so it's been very busy the last couple of months, I should say, campaigning and walking door to door and trying to get my message out to the people.
Well, okay, in that, we have a few questions for you.
Sure.
If you were the king of Oxnard, you didn't have to respond to Mr. Obama or the governor, what would you do to improve the life of our community?
Well, I think first and foremost, I think it's an excellent segue into how people view a mayor of a city. And sometimes people view a mayor as a king. But in the overwhelming amount of cities in not in Ventura County, but throughout the state of California and in Ventura County, a mayor is a symbolic figurehead of the government and actually rotates every 2 years. What makes Oxnard different is that the mayor of Oxnard is elected directly. And so that does add perhaps a little bit more prestige or a little bit more power to the position. But I think if I were in a position of more power, what would I do for the community? I mean, I would do a lot of things for the community. I think first and foremost, it's about quality of life. I think that's the most important thing in any community is the quality of life.
For example, what would you say to the elderly?
Well, the elderly are growing in numbers, not just in Oxnard, but in Ventura County and all up and down coastal areas. In fact, that's what's forecasted over the next several decades and half century is that increasingly coastal areas will be filled with people that are elderly because the climate is more moderate along the coastal areas. But what would I say to the elderly? I think the elderly are perhaps the most undervalued and underutilized resource in a community because they have a lot of experience, they have a lot to share, and oftentimes when people retire, they just they think that this notion of retirement is you just stop working, you stop interacting, you stop involving yourself in the community. Now there are many seniors that do involve themselves with the community, but arguably we need more seniors to be active in the community. And also seniors need to be valued not just for the fact that they have a lot of experience, they need to be valued for the fact that they're integral to this community and to the success of the community. And it's interesting that you have on this paper here the youth. And I think there's a really strong connection between the elderly and the youth, and in particular that the elderly, and especially those people that are retired, have time on their hands to volunteer and to work with people. And what group of people perhaps need more help than any other, and those are the youth of any community.
So what would you do to improve their life in the future?
Well, first of all, I think it's been proven that when people are engaged, both intellectually and physically, they live longer and they're healthier. And so that's a quality of life measure. And when younger people have mentors, and I'm a teacher, and there's no question, it's all about mentoring, that when younger people have mentors, they're going to do better. They're going to be healthier. They're going to be more focused, more directed. And I think that when we speak about quality of life, it's about maybe putting these two groups of people together, since we have a very young population in Oxnard, and increasingly we're going to have a much older population.
And what would you say to the working force? I mean, all the adults, all the parents, and all those. How do you see their future?
Well, I think a lot of people are very unsure of the future, and I think that's with good reason because of this last recession, the Great Recession. And I believe that what working people need to do and to think about is they need to find ways that they can increase their income and increase their quality of life. And I think the way that that's best done is going back to school, taking perhaps training classes, and that's exactly what we want to do here in the city of Oxnard, offer more opportunities so that people that are working during the day, that in the evening they can get training and they can go back and get a high school diploma if they don't have one, a GED, or even start college. And that really is a ticket to success. So that's what I would say to them. They need to raise their incomes, and to raise your income, you have to be more qualified, right? You have to gain more qualifications.
And, you know, we have different neighborhoods and we have several different problems in each one of them.
Mm-hmm.
How would you improve that?
Well, that's a very good question, and it doesn't have a simple answer. There are some neighborhoods in the city that have far fewer problems than others. Arguably, all neighborhoods have problems to some extent. But when I was elected to the city council in 2004, I came right out of the neighborhood council system. And the neighborhood council system, I believe, in the city is that connection between city government and people in neighborhoods. It's problematic because a lot of times people don't involve themselves in neighborhood councils because they're too busy, or perhaps they don't think it's important, or they don't think the neighborhood council system is effective enough. But as far as quality of life in neighborhoods and how to improve neighborhoods, I think it begins with people in neighborhoods, and every neighborhood is unique. Every neighborhood has their own individual interest, and I believe the neighborhood council system is the best way to approach that.
Thank you. For the business community, you and I know that it's been a very difficult time for most of the business they're trying to open, or the ones that are already there to go get licensed, for example, in the city. How would you change this?
Well, for the last year and a half, I've been changing it. So not seeking to change it, but actually changing it. And it starts with our service center. We have a service center in the city of Oxnard where a person can go and pay a bill, or they can apply for a business permit or business license, or a permit to build something, or a permit to maybe modify their home. And what I've sought to do, and what I've been in the process of doing, is changing the way that the service that's provided to people. People sometimes feel very frustrated that they don't know how to navigate through the bureaucracy. And part of, Hector, the irony of this is that we put everybody under one roof so they wouldn't have to navigate through the bureaucracy, that they could just go to one counter and then go to the next counter and then go right across from that counter, and then it would be a one-stop shop and everything would be taken care of. Well, the problem is that might work for some people, but it doesn't work for all people. And different businesses have different needs, and in the city, what I've worked on doing is hiring a business services manager that's going to keep tabs on every single person that applies for a permit or a business license, that we have some measurable outcomes where they apply for a permit one day, and if there's no reason to deny them that permit, we issue the permit right on the spot, or a business license right on the spot. And if they have a much more complicated set of circumstances, that we try to give them a time frame from beginning to finish on when it can get resolved. So a lot of it has to do with communication and better communication, but it's also reorganizing and restructuring the way we deliver services to the public.
So is there any ordinance in there that would impair their ability to perform those duties?
No, what it really is about is that we have, again, we have a service center, and part of the problem is that every department thinks about what their job is in that department. So if you're in business licensing, you're concerned really just with business licensing. You're not really concerned about this guy that's maybe looking to get a business permit or business license and then turn around and apply for a permit. And so what we need to do is connect all the people that work in that building. We need someone that oversees the people in that building to make sure that if you want to do business in the city of Oxnard, that the city is the last person that's going to try to stop you from doing it. In fact, the city is going to facilitate businesses getting started rather than hindering them.
So is anything being done right now as we speak?
Yes, it is. So the service center is being completely overhauled, and we're in the process right now of looking at how we can get a pinpoint person that will greet people that come into the service center, just like a bank does, be able to direct people, be able to follow people through that process, be able to, for more complicated cases, to have some kind of follow-through, give people information, redesigning the information to say, okay, you want to put an addition on your home? Here are 10 steps to doing that, right? When you've met all 10 of these steps, you will get a permit for your home. You want a business license? You meet these 3 steps, you will get your business license. So it's really about communicating better with people, and we're in the process right now of revamping that operation so that that comes off much smoother.
So it'll be possible to get all the decision makers in one room at one time and meet with them, so you can kind of everybody's in the same page. So when you ask any questions, the decision will be made among all of them. So you will come out at least with a very clear idea of what is that you need to move on, or if you have to do any additional steps.
Well, actually, you just gave me a good idea, Hector, so thank you very much. But it would be to get, for the much more complicated cases of businesses wanting to start up in the city, wanting to perhaps, maybe it's 1 day a week, where from a certain time period, maybe from, let's say, 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 6 when the city closes, that everyone knows that 1 day a week, anybody and everybody that's relevant to starting a business or and getting questions answered or decisions being made is going to be all assembled together. That's a big problem, right? Because there's sometimes a fire marshal, right? And a fire marshal does inspections. So what is a fire marshal responsible for? Going out and performing inspections. So it's pretty hard to have a fire marshal always available, because the fire marshal has to go out and do his or her job. As an example, there's planning, and planners are busy planning, and they're busy doing that. So I think, you've actually given me a really good idea about, could there be a time once a week when those people are all in one room and that people can get their questions answered and get their questions answered quickly. But I think it ultimately comes down to the buck stops with a person responsible for making sure that there's a timeline, and that once people fulfill a certain amount of requirements, they're going to get their business license or they're going to get their permit. The complaint all too often is that people say it's a moving target. They fulfill one set of standards or requirements, and then they're handed another standard. And then after they finish that, then they're handed another standard. So people need to know from the minute they walk in the door to the time that they leave, what exactly is it going to take place, what is it going to take to get something accomplished, and how much time is it going to take, and how much money is it going to take.
Yeah, because I've been through that. I know exactly what you said. It happens to me. You have to go back and forth, and every time that something pops up. So it would be ideal that they come up with a very clear, specific list. This is what you need. Comply with this, and you're in business.
Right.
Rather than moving around and okay, I flip the card again and flip the card again and see which one you're going to get.
That's right.
Oh well.
Right.
Right. Thank you. So what do you think about the nonprofit organizations?
Well, nonprofit organizations are everywhere in this country, and nonprofit organizations are, again, just like seniors and like youth, are an integral part of the community. The problem, I think, for nonprofits is the same problem that government faces and the same problem that working families face. There's not enough money. So there's a scarcity of money, and that's a permanent situation. And when there's a recession, it means there's even more of a shortage, right, on top of a scarcity. So nonprofits do a lot to help the homeless. Nonprofits do a lot to help families. Nonprofits do a lot to solve problems in the community. And I would say that the overwhelming majority of nonprofits are in the business of helping people and solving problems. And on that note, my mom once told me, either you're part of the solution or you're part of the problem. And I believe that nonprofits are part of the solution.
Thank you. What do you think about the art organizations?
Art organizations. I think art organizations have and could thrive here in the city of Oxnard. I think where we are right here is an excellent example of an organization that is promoting art. I have right now, in fact, going to put a meeting together, and I have to invite the people in this room, a gentleman who is a sculptor, a woman who makes pottery, and another woman who is an artistic photographer, and they want to have a place downtown that they can begin to do their craft. Right now there isn't a place for them to come to just walk in and begin to do whatever it is that they do. So I'm working with the city right now on what we might be able to do with a former redevelopment property. Could we, because we can't enter into any new agreements over properties that are owned by the successor agency of redevelopment. So what can we do to bring those artists down? And I think arts are very important, and I think arts are actually crucial to the future success and viability of the downtown.
Thank you. And the last but not least, we have a lot of homeless here in town. How are you going to overcome this situation?
Well, there's a homeless commission, and they deserve a lot of credit for bringing to the city council's attention the plight of homeless or homelessness. There are a lot of the nonprofit organizations that are helping people. As an example, women and children in particular who maybe they're not in a safe situation, and they will bring them in. But for the vast majority of people who are chronically homeless, and those are, I mean, you have people that are not chronically homeless and people that are chronically homeless. The vast majority of people, or many of the people that are chronically homeless, also have mental health issues. And, you know, it's working much more closely with the county to deliver a service to individuals that need mental health help, and that would hopefully end their ordeal of homelessness. And I know right down the street on 5th Street that Community Action is looking for a permanent homeless shelter. But with that shelter will be the requirement that if people have a need for financial counseling, or people have a need for counseling to help them with overcome mental health issues, or they need to see a doctor, that be a requirement in order for them to stay there, because it shouldn't be a permanent place. It should be a temporary stop on getting them back to out of homelessness and back into a safe and comfortable place to live.
We're going to take a very short break, and
Okay.
we'll be right back.
Thank you very much.
We're back with Mayor Flynn, and we're going to give you the last word.
The last word?
The last word.
Oh my gosh, the last word. That's a privilege to have the last word. Well, first of all, I want to thank you and for this opportunity to speak to people in Oxnard that are viewing. I'm excited to be mayor of the city of Oxnard. Oxnard is the county's best city, and Oxnard is one of the best places anywhere in the state of California that people can come to, and I'm proud to be mayor of the city of Oxnard, and I'm proud of Oxnard. And you might have seen some of my signs around town. It says "Believe in Oxnard," and I really do believe in Oxnard. And so I want to thank you for the opportunity and remind people that November 4th, you need to carry out your duty. And your duty is to vote November 4th. It is anticipated that up to 7 out of 10 people will stay home, Hector. They will not go out and vote. So I really emphatically want to say, please vote November 4th, and I hope you'll consider my candidacy for mayor.
Well, thank you. And I also want to invite everybody to come out and vote. You decide who you're going to vote for, but come out. We got to make the difference. We got to come out and make our vote count. And I want to thank you, Mayor, for being here with us. And remember, the door is open for you anytime you wish to come in.
I really appreciate it.
And we move to the next event.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.